Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are diving into the world of data engineering with one of the most popular platform out there, which is Databricks. Whether you are a beginner or just curious about how Databricks work, this video will give you an overview on how to get started. Why Databricks? Databricks combines the power of Apache Spark with a user-friendly cloud platform, making it a top choice for big data projects. So in this video, we are going to cover these four topics, like how to create a entirely free Databricks account, and the overview on the Databricks UI, and we will be creating a cluster. So we will be knowing like how to create cluster, what are the different types of clusters, and how to delete or stop or start or terminate a cluster. Also, we are going to create a notebook, and also we are going to see how to run a notebook or how to run a cell, and we are going to see one of the main feature in Databricks, which is magic commands. So we are going to cover all those topics today. So if you want to create a new Databricks account, so you can just search in Google like create free Databricks. Sorry, create free Databricks account, and you can click on sign up for Databricks, and you can say try Databricks. So here you can just fill the basic details. So I'm just giving some dummy value just to show like how to create a entirely free account. Uh, so I'm just going to say demo at gmail.com, demo, and that's all. So if I click on continue, so here like there will be two options. Either we can go with the professional use, or there is something called personal use. So if we want to go with the completely entirely free Databricks account, then we want to click on the get started with community edition. So this community edition is completely free, but there will be some limitations. Uh, but if you go with the professional use, like you will get a 14 days of free trial, then you want to pay for what you use. So if you want to create a community account, so just click on get started with community edition. Then you want to just verify your email, and you will be able to create your entirely free account. Okay, so first, so once you create your free community account, so this is how the community account looks like. You will have the workspace, then recent, search, catalog, workflows, and compute. Also, you will be able to see this machine learning experiments. So the workspace is the place where we will be creating notebooks, and we will write the code inside the notebooks. So there will be something called workspace. Under workspace, you will create folders, and you will create notebooks under those folders. Then we have the recents. So here we will be able to see what all are the recent notebooks that we have opened recently. And we have the search option. If we want to search any particular notebook, we will be able to search it from here. Then we have the catalog. So catalog has two things. One is the database tables, and another one is DBFS. So under database, like we will be able to create tables. So if you want to access the this database, then you want some active cluster, so that you will be able to view the tables, or even create a table, or even creating databases. Then we have the DBFS. So under a DBFS, again you want an active cluster to access this DBFS. So here we will be able to see like file store, mount, and users. If we want to upload some file, we will be able to upload files here. So under user, with your Gmail ID, there will be a folder. So inside the folder, you can create a folder and upload some raw files, or even we can use this as a storage. Then we have the workflows. So workflows is where we used to orchestrate our notebooks. We can create jobs under workflows, and we can orchestrate those notebooks. Then we have compute. So in order to access workflows, like it won't be visible under community edition. So we want to go with some professional account so that we will be able to use this workflows. Then we have the compute. So compute is where we used to create our clusters. So in community edition, the disadvantage here is we will be able to create only one cluster at a time. Like there will be only one active cluster. We won't be able to create multiple clusters in community edition. Also, like once the cluster got terminated, like it will be disabled permanently. We won't be able to use that disabled cluster. For example, I have created multiple clusters. Um, uh, it is still showing, but after some times it will be get disappeared. But there will be only one active cluster. So if I try to start this old cluster, uh, so it will say the cluster like we won't be able to do it because it is permanently disabled. So these are the main things that we will be covering here in this course. So now let's try to go with the topics that I have prepared. So the first topic that we are going to cover here is like creating and managing a interactive cluster. So the cluster is a compute resource where we will be running our ETL pipeline or data engineering workflows, data science workflows. If you want to run some ad hoc analysis or machine learning. So for everything, like we will be using the cluster. And Databricks is providing two types of cluster. One is all-purpose cluster and another one is job cluster. So all-purpose cluster is used for ad hoc analytics, or if you want to run some notebooks, you can use the all-purpose cluster. But job cluster is specifically only for creating or while we orchestrate or when we schedule some notebooks, then we will be able to use this job cluster. But we won't be able to use the job cluster in notebooks directly. So that the job cluster will be available only creating workflows or jobs. So creating a cluster. So let me go to compute, then create compute. So here, actually now we are using the community edition. So there will be limited options available. We won't be able to configure much here. So in community edition, we can give the compute name, then the Databricks runtime version. So there will be a few runtime versions available, like Spark version and the Scala version. So we can choose the runtime version accordingly. Then, as I said, like we are using a community edition, so they are providing 15 GB of memory, and so this will be terminated automatically if we are not using the cluster for 1 or 2 hours. The cluster will be get terminated. So once the cluster got terminated, it will be disabled permanently. We won't be able to use that particular cluster again. Then if you want to do some Spark configuration, we can do that. Also, if you want to create some environment variables, even we can create those variables here. So I have already created a cluster and which is running, so I won't be able to create it again when I try to create a new separate cluster. So this is how like we can create a cluster. Then there are like once we create a cluster, there are different options like start, restart, terminate, and delete. Once we terminate a cluster, actually I'm not talking about the community edition, but in personal use edition, if a cluster got terminated, so whichever VMs are running inside that particular cluster will be like the memory, the storage, everything will be deleted. So if we are doing some, for example, if we are creating some or storing some data, we want to make sure like we are storing it in some permanent locations. So maybe we can store it in some S3 or AWS or any cloud storage accounts, or we want to store it in some persistent location so that the data will be saved. Then we can restart a cluster. So when we restart, it will the Databricks will allocate a new resource, new environment, it will create a new compute environment for that particular cluster. So whatever data is stored, like everything will be deleted, and we will be able to get a new uh, compute environment. Then we talked about the terminate. So when we terminate, everything will be stopped. Then if we want to start it, we can use the restart button to again restart the terminated cluster. Then we have an option to delete the cluster. So if you don't want the cluster, we can delete that particular cluster, so that all the configuration, everything will be get deleted. Then let's talk about the notebook basics. So notebook is a place where we used to create or write our codes. So first let's try to attach a cluster. Actually, I have already created a cluster and which is currently running. So in order to attach a cluster to a notebook, here we have an option called connect. So you want to click on this drop down. Here I can see there is a cluster which is currently running. So I can just go ahead and select that particular cluster so that the cluster will be attached to this particular notebook. And so if you want to run a particular cell in Windows, we can use the control enter, and for Mac we can use control return. So when I do control return, that particular cell will get executed. Then we have something called shift enter. So in Windows, when we do a shift enter, it will run that particular cell and it will go to the next cell. Then for Mac, it will be shift return. So actually we have an option here we have a drop down. So when we click on that, we have different options like run cell, then run selected text, run all above, then all below. So this particular run selected text is if we have some SQL code and if you want to run a particular uh, line alone, then we can select that particular line, and when we do run selected text, it will just run that particular line alone. So if we want to run this particular cell, we can click on this run cell so that this particular cell will get executed. So here we have a print statement, and that we will be able to see that output for that print statement here. Then setting the default notebook language. So every notebook in Databricks will have a default language. So for this notebook, Python is the default language. And if we want to change the default language for a notebook, then we want to click on this drop down and we will be able to see different languages. So Python will support, Databricks will support Python, SQL, Scala, and R languages. So we can select accordingly. So in this entire course, like we will be using Python and SQL mostly. Then we have this magic command. So magic command is nothing but, for example, this particular notebook's default language is Python, and if I wish to run Scala, SQL, or code, in that case I can use this magic command. So in order to use magic command, we want to use the percentage and that language. For example, if you want to run Python language in some SQL default language notebook, then you want to use percentage Python. So here it's a Python is the default language for this notebook, and if I want to run SQL query, I can use percentage SQL. So this particular notebook is a Python, so we don't want to specify percentage Python for Python code. If we are trying to run some SQL code, then we want to specify percentage SQL. So here I have a SQL statement, select hello SQL. So when I run select hello SQL, so this SQL will get executed. Then even we have something called, for example, if I want to, like I'm creating a new cell. So in the cell, I can select the language for a particular cell. So for example, I can select R, then it will be percentage R. Then if I want it to be Scala, I can say percentage Scala. And if it should be SQL, then we can say percentage SQL. And Python is the default language for this notebook. So when we choose Python, like nothing will be get displayed. And another thing is, for in a cell, we will be able to use only one language. So we won't be able to use Python, SQL in a single cell, but we can create a different cell for that particular language. So we can't say percentage SQL and percentage R in a single cell. So if you want to use R language, then you want to go with the new cell. Then markdown, so it will be same as like if you are familiar with Jupyter notebooks, then it will be familiar, like you will be familiar with this markdown. So for title, like we use this hash symbol. Then if it is an ordered list, then we use zero dot. Then if it is an unordered list, we will use the star. Then even we will be able to attach a link. Also, we can embed a image in this markup. Also, we can create tables like this. So this is how it looks like the URL, the image, and the table, and unordered and this ordered list, and these are the titles. Then we have this percentage run. For example, if we have a separate notebook, and if we want to run that notebook inside another notebook, then we can use this percentage run to another notebook from a particular notebook. There are few things here. For example, if that notebook has some temporary table or temporary view, we will be able to use those like that particular. For example, if I say percentage run and some notebook path and notebook name, then that notebook will get executed in that particular cell. And if we wish to use some temporary views or temporary tables in from that particular notebook, we will be able to use it from this particular notebook. So here there's an example. So I'm going to run some this particular notebook here. So before executing that, I will execute this equal statement. So I'm just trying to select a select star from a view, demo temp view. So when I execute this, so I will get a error saying this tabular view doesn't exist. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this notebook, which is classroom setup 1.2. So when I run this, so this particular notebook will get executed inside this particular cell. So once it got executed, when again if I go and try to run this, I will be able to see this temporary view from there, because this particular notebook has like here we are creating a temporary view. So by executing select star from that temporary view, I will be able to see the data from the temporary view. Then there are n number of Databricks utility command. So mainly in this session, like we will be using dbfs, dbutil.fs.ls. So this is a so dbutil stands for Databricks utility, and fs is file system, and ls is list. So this Databricks utility, when we pass some path, it will help us to return all the folders and files inside that particular folder or directory. So when I execute this, like we have something called Databricks dataset. So from where it is coming is this is coming from this particular notebook. So the setup file has some S3 configuration, S3 bucket configuration. This folder location is from there. So when I try to execute this, it will show me the list of files and folders inside this particular path. So for that, like we use this dbutil.fs.ls. Then we have the display function. So whatever value we pass to this display function, it will return in table format. So here we have listed the folders, files inside this particular Databricks dataset folder. So when we pass the same to this display, it will return in tabular format. So when I execute it, so I will be able to view the data in tabular format. So this is how it looks like. So there are few capabilities and limitation with display function. So this display will return only 1,000 records from a data from whatever we are passing. Maybe if we are trying to select some table, and when we put it in display, it will show only the first 1,000 records from that particular data set. Then we have an option to download this particular result set. So it will be in CSV format. So when I click on this download, it will get downloaded. Whatever is getting displayed here, I will be able to download it in CSV format. Then we will be able to create some plot on top of this particular data set, whichever is displayed here. I will be able to create some plots. Then downloading a notebook. So if you wish to download some notebook, what you can do is you can click on this three dots. Then there is an option called export. So let me explain. Like there are few options here. So we have DBC archive extract, then source file extract, HTML type file extract, then IPython extract. So this DBC archive is something created by Databricks. So when we extract in DBC archive, right? Whatever, for example, I have executed this, and when I export it in DBC archive, whatever output is displayed here, even that will be captured. And when we import it in somewhere, some other notebook, I will be able to see all these output and everything output and whatever I have executed, everything will be captured and it will be displayed when we import it in somewhere else. Then we have the source file, like we can download it in source file. Like when we say source file, this particular notebook is a Python based, like the default language for this notebook is Python. So when I download it in source file, it will add extension as .py. So when this particular notebook is a SQL based, then it will have SQL. Then accordingly, like if it is scalar or like it will have that appropriate extension. So when I do a source file, like I won't be able to see the output or anything from there. Then we have the HTML extract. So when we do a HTML extract, like we will be able to use it in some website. We will be able to open it anywhere. Like we don't want any other tools to view that, like when it is .html, like we will be able to see from browser itself. Even we don't want internet connection to view that these cells and code when it is in .html format. Then we have the IPython extension. So when we download, like this .ipynb will be added as a extension for that particular file. So we will be able to use it from the Jupyter notebook or somewhere else, wherever this .ipynb is supported, we will be able to use it. So let me show how we can extract a particular cell. So sorry, particular notebook. So when we click on the three dots, there is something called export. Then we can choose the appropriate format for that. Even we will be able to export entire folder. So same, we can click on the export, and we will be able to see dbc source file and html formats. So we won't be able to see .ipynb, but other like html source file and dbc archive will be visible. So in upcoming videos, we will dive deep into the data engineering concept. And if you have any questions or run into any issues, please drop a comment. I will help with you. Thank you for watching.